Harp on Sports, the Bar, podcast, media, audio, and radio network. What do we have in store for you on this edition of the program? A little prime time out. Deion Sanders, mad at the media. One particular outlet. He's mad at CBS Sports because they ranked him as the second worst head coach in the Big 12. These lists that come out, at this time of year as we start to gear up for football, head coaches are petty. There's egos all over the place. This dude, it goes back to Tim McCarver some 30 plus years ago. It's what helped drive him as a person. What he did, wrong. Yeah. Should he be fired for it? No, let's pump the brakes on that. But he doesn't care. And what you should be able to take away from this, there's a lesson in this for Deion Sanders as well, and also the media. So we're going to look at that. Also, a little Rays rollout. It's been 2 weeks since the mass exodus, since the fire sale, in which we saw Eflin leave, Randy Arozarena leave, Isaac Paredes leave. We saw the clear out. It's been, 12 games? What have we learned? And also, a little Olympic review. I loved it. My Team USA shirt, my USA cowboy hat. I loved it. I thought it was a great 16 days. What this Olympic Games will be remembered for from Team USA's perspective. Again, Harp on Sports, the Bar, podcast, media, audio, radio network. Follow, share, like, subscribe at Harp on Sports Twitter, at Harp on Sports Instagram. You can follow us there. Harp on Sports, the auditory route, Buzzsprout, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Harp on Sports Facebook page, Harp on Sports YouTube channel Under the Bar, and of course, harponsports.com. Okay. Deion Sanders. All right. I understand his reaction. He could have had so much fun with this. He takes things personal. Look at Tim McCarver back when the Braves were playing the Blue Jays in the World Series 30 years ago. Hey, there's even a 30 for 30 on it, where Deion played for the Falcons during the day and played for the Braves at night. McCarver criticized him, called him selfish for not spending time at the World Series with his team instead of playing in a meaningless regular season game in football. Deion took exception to it. Of course, they had the incident in the locker room following Game 7 of the NLCS. This guy's always been petty. But to call for his firing is ridiculous. Is it juvenile? Yeah. Yep. You can be combative like that if you want with the media. Of course. They're going to turn on you. They're going to turn on you. And the thing is, after a losing season last year in year 1 at Colorado. Okay, year 2, what do we expect? This guy was talked about big names like last year, right? We even talked to him going to Florida, Alabama, Ohio State. Son's very good. Probably going to be a top 10 pick. Moving into the Big 12. Should be, 7-5, 8-4 team? Now, he went after a particular writer, or somebody that covered CBS, I should say, on the TV side when it was a writer at CBSSports.com. He doesn't care. Not going to talk to any of you. And also giving short answers, like talking about the depth and on the offensive line, and he didn't like the word that was used. Like, he's just being petty and being childish. Okay, so what do? Well, you cover him harshly. Look, the minute they get waxed in a game, look, the honeymoon's over for Deion. The moral of the story here is the honeymoon's over. And it was funny because what did him in, his anger, is not because somebody attacked one of his players. It's not because somebody attacked, play calling or recruiting. They questioned him. That's what coaches want, right? As long as you're talking about me, the focus isn't on our players. That's what you want as a coach. Not that dude. Not that dude. I think he's a really good football mind. And I think he's perfect for what they're trying to do at Colorado. But here's the news, and here's the truth. Local media fawns over the football coach. Local media doesn't cover teams objectively. They just don't. They're homers. At the end of the day, 90% of them are homers. And I get it. I've always said this time and time again, whatever team I'm covering, I want to see him succeed because it's in the best interest of business, but not at the expense of myself and my intelligence and my reputation. I'm not going to come out and say, oh, the team I'm covering this year is going to go 16-0. No. Do I want to see them succeed? You bet. It's in the best interest of business. But this fawning and loving and adoration, you get this in local markets because usually it's graduates of the school. People stay in the area. They continue to cover the team. They just mouth breathers and homers. When they turn on you, you got yourself a problem. When you're mad at CBS Sports or you're attacking the local CBS affiliate, those are the people that are going to defend you, stand up for you, but he doesn't care. He just does not care. So what does he do from here? Nothing. He's going to do whatever he wants. Now, bygone be bygone. You probably should do a TV interview with this dude and say, hey, man, look, it's not your fault. I get it. But that would be contrition. Deion's not a contrition type of guy. He's just not. So, you can get away with it when you win. But the moral of the story here for Deion Sanders is if you get the local media turned on you, you're cooked. Because they're the ones that defend you tooth and nail. National, when the boosters dry up and things of that nature, there's where you start to get burned. And he comes out, and if he's combative, if they get beat out of the gate or lose early on, and he's combative some more, we're like, wait a second, we can have any coach and come here and go 4-8, and come on, what are we doing here? The luster eventually wears off. It does. So it's a chance to, all you had to do with this situation, go, oh, CBS, huh? Oh, you guys know, you really think that I'm the second worst coach in the Big 12? Do you think, what's your name again? Dan, do you really think I'm the second worst coach in the Big 12? Whoa. All right, we'll see. We'll see. What's your question, man? But that's not him. That's not him. It's not how he's built. Okay. You just take a step back and, this is taking it out on somebody that had nothing to do with it. But again, the calling for him he needs to step down. You think this is tough. Imagine the NFL. The NFL, homerism in the NFL doesn't exist nearly as much as it exists in college. You got guys in college showing up wearing polos of the teams covering them. Independent TV stations wearing polos of the teams collegiately. You don't see that in the NFL. Mostly not. We'll see. So, Deion, again, you get the local media turned on, you're in trouble. From that to this, it's been 2 weeks, 12 games since the Rays completed their fire sale on Sunday. Randy Arozarena was traded, was it on Thursday, Friday, and then over the weekend, Paredes and Eflin and those guys got shipped out, and it's been 12 games. They're 6-6. So they haven't lost any ground. They've stayed 500. And we've talked about this. Those guys weren't going to be part of a long-term deal there. They're rethinking how the organization operates in terms of Wander Franco being gone. They need to find that next guy. I think they may have him. I'm going to tell you who he is here in a minute. They may have two of them. But again, now you've moved all these guys out. You get a jump start on where you would be next year in April. You get to figure this out in August and September this year. You get to figure this out for 2 months. And then next year, at the beginning of the year, you're going to have guys that, did they make it? Did they not make it? Certain guys have moved up to AAA now. Guys are going to get called up in September, part of the September call-ups. So again, we don't expect them to make the wild card. Not going to. And they're treading water. That's it right there. So I went through and looked at this. Again, the Marlins, the O's, it's a playoff team. The Astros, that's a playoff team. Cardinals, not a playoff team. So they went 500. It's not like they went 500 against the worst of the worst, but they weren't going 500 against the Yankees. I guess the O's are pretty good. And the Guardians, the Dodgers, they weren't doing that, but they held their own. And I went through and looked at this. That's about what the expectation is, right? This team's going to be 500. And I went through and looked. They're 5.5 games behind Kansas City now for that last wild card spot. Kansas City's kind of taken off a little bit. The Red Sox just got swept by the Astros. So I sit here and I look at this and say, okay, the Rays are where the Rays are. Now, there are a couple things I think that you look at and go, uh-oh. And the one is Chris Morel, who Isaac Paredes. Chris Morel's a guy that you thought, okay, 25 and 90. He could be a 30, 100 guy. He knocked on the door of that before injuries got him in Chicago with the Cubs. Okay, the Paredes trade, okay, but they also got what on this? Hunter Biggie, okay, and they freed up some roster space, and Hunter Biggie's a good arm in the bullpen. He's lived up to it. He's got 5 and a third innings, hasn't given up a run yet. So Hunter Biggie's come in and given you 5 innings. So he's basically pitched almost every other night, hasn't given up a run yet. Okay, that's a nice major league addition. Chris Morel's been terrible. What's he hitting? 139. He's got 2 home runs and 2 RBI, 2 solo shots. Dude's got 5 hits in 12 games. Oof. Oof. Need to see what they got with this dude. And again, they can control him longer. And this is just at bats. Okay, can we figure this out? Okay, is there something? Maybe it's just over for him. But you go through and you look at the minor league system and what they've got. And I went through and there's a couple names in here. And of course, you know these names. We've talked about them on this podcast before. But you've got a guy like, oh, okay, well, Eflin's gone, health-wise. They have a guy like Jacob Lopez, who was up earlier this year for about a week, right? And in 5 innings, his ERA is close to 9. They sent him back down. What's he, 5 and 4 with an ERA right around 4? That dude's going to get called up in September, get 4 or 5, starts under his belt in September. There are other guys in here. Cole Wilcox. Cole Wilcox just got called up to AAA. So what happens is you move these guys up. It's not just moving guys up. Okay, here they are in the bigs. You have guys that were at AA that are now going to get called up or get to spend the last 5-6 weeks of the season at AAA. Next year, okay, here we go. So have the moves been a success? It's going to take a lot longer than just these 2 weeks to determine this, but it hasn't been like a bloodbath. They haven't gone like 2-10. It hasn't been, oh my gosh. As long as they stay in contention here, 5.5 out, the minute they get to 8 out, 9 out, that's a tough sell. But I look around at the other guys, 2 other names. Of course, we all know Junior Caminero. Look, he is pretty hot this last week. What's he hitting? 270. He's got 12 home runs, 33 RBI at third and short. Expect that dude to be up in September. Now, they're trying to save him because they would like him to be a rookie next year, trying to keep him under that at-bat threshold. Plus, there's no real room for him on the roster right now. Calling him up right now is not the best business move for this organization. Let him get another, I don't know what, over the course of the next 3 weeks, another 50 at-bats. And then up he comes. And then, I mentioned Jacob Lopez, Cole Wilcox. There's a guy at AA, Chandler Simpson. This guy is fascinating to me because he's almost, well, he's not almost, I keep mentioning Juan Pierre. Dude doesn't hit for power. He's going to hit 3 or 4 home runs a year, like Luis Ariz. Dude's hitting 360, and he's got 51 stolen bases. So you got a guy playing center field, playing the outfield at AA, that's hitting 360, that's going to steal 65, 70 bases this year. So all these pieces are in place now if you're the Rays. Okay, well, play out this out, get these at-bats in, move the guys up, AA, AAA. AAA could be loaded next year for the Rays. And some of these other guys get called up, okay. Part of these trades, you had a lot of guys that I think of the 12 pieces I think 11 pieces the Rays acquired, 4 were at A-ball. Okay. 5 were at A-ball. 2 were in the bigs. 2 were at AA. Oh, okay. I've said it's going to take a good 2 seasons to determine whether all this works, but now there's gaps and there's openings and guys can start to fast track themselves to the bigs. But through 2 weeks, look, they're no worse off than they were. I guess they are a little bit. And what the Rays have done, this is the act of surgery. What the Rays have done is surgery is the act of hurting yourself to heal yourself. Think about it. Scalpel, going to cut you open, going to cut your ligaments. We're going to retie them. You're hurting yourself to heal yourself. That's what surgery is. We're going to drill a hole in your teeth and put a filling in. You're hurting your body to heal your body. That's what it is. And that's what the Rays did. It's the equivalent of surgery. So, again, 2 weeks in, all right. As we do our little Rays rollout and what we've seen. Again, the Chris Morel thing hasn't worked out. It's been pretty bad. But we'll see what happens here. And the dude could go 3 for 4 back-to-back nights, and now he's hitting 220, and he's got 5-6 home runs. We'll see. We'll see what happens. You got 6 weeks to figure it out. Wanted to wrap with this. You see my Team USA shirt. Of course, my Team USA, my American flag cowboy. And I enjoyed the Olympics. I feel bad for everybody that abandoned Team USA and boycotted this sucker the last 16 days. I've enjoyed it. What do we get? We clear out 126 medals. It's a record amount of medals in a non-boycotted Olympics. Although we kind of booted Russia out. As long as Russia's not around. Not that Russia was going to dominate us in anything or beat us in multiple things, but them not being there, right? They're the villain. And it's a non-boycotted Olympics. Yeah, I get it. And again, we cleaned up. We did. We cleaned up. 40 medals in 3 different 40 plus. Was it 40 gold, 43 silver, 43 bronze, something like that? I'm like, wow, just impressive. And again, what's it going to be known for? What's it going to be remembered for? Well, look, the basketball games, the gold medal games were fantastic. Those were amazing basketball games. And tip of the hat to France. It's going to be tough for Team USA in 4 years. With LeBron, at least on the guy side, with LeBron, Durant, and Steph, probably not playing in 4 years. So there's always a next generation. Who's that next guy? Steph Curry. Look, LeBron won games for them, put on a show, was the facilitator. Kevin Durant is the reason that they beat Serbia. And Steph Curry's the reason they won the gold. Big shot after big shot after big shot. LeBron is the MVP, but it'll always be remembered for Steph's shots. And not that there was doubt before, but this was his first Olympics, right? Didn't get asked back in 12. Was hurt in 16. Opted out in 21 because of COVID, and here he is, 24. So Steph finally gets his gold, and boy, did he put on a display. So from that standpoint, that's what that's remembered for, and the women holding on. But, the nation, it's funny because you look at basketball, professionally, other countries have kind of closed the gap a little bit on us. Meanwhile, we haven't closed the gap on soccer on the men's side to save our lives. I thought 30 years ago when we hosted the World Cup, it's like, we're going to close the gap. 3 decades later, we're farther away now than we were 3 decades ago. 32 years ago, the Dream Team plays in the Olympics and the rest of the world's caught up. There are like 50 guys that play, over 50 guys that played in the Olympics that play in the NBA. Extremely impressive. So there's that front. What I'm going to remember it for is the dominance on the track. So the Team USA, the shots, the big clutch shots, I want to remember it for the domination on the track, especially the ladies. We win the gold in the 100 meter. We win the gold in the 200 meter on the men's side. The women, the relays, just impressive. The hurdles, good gracious. And the last big thing is Simone Biles, after having the twisties 3 years ago in Tokyo, establishes herself as the greatest gymnast ever. She's up there. Mary Lou Retton was always the name, right, when it comes to American gymnast. And then you've had other people that have had good runs. Shannon Miller. You've had big names. But in terms of Americans, she's up there with Nadia Comaneci now. She just is. Greatest gymnast ever, male or female. That she check. Gold for Team USA, check. All around, check. Just complete total domination. So that's what I'm going to take away. And I went back through and I looked at a couple weeks ago. The pool. We talked about Katie Ledecky. She gets a couple more golds. All right, is she going to come back and try to establish herself as the second greatest American Olympian ever in terms of gold medals, right behind Michael Phelps? Maybe. Be her fourth Olympics. But it was great. It was great. And again, I've talked about how many people say they love America, but they don't like Americans. Brittany Griner crying. That's what you wanted, right? Full circle. Kneeling. Now she's standing. Isn't that retribution? I enjoyed it. Think about all the people that I'm not going to watch it because some French guy dressed up in blue, and it's ridiculous. So there you go. Harp on Sports, the Bar, podcast, media, audio, radio network. Follow, share, like, subscribe at Harp on Sports, Twitter, at Harp on Sports, Instagram. Auditory Route, Buzzsprout, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Harp on Sports, the Bar, Harp on Sports, the Bar, Facebook page under Harp on Sports, Harp on Sports YouTube channel, and of course, harponsports.com. Remember, stay clean, stay focused, stay strong. Frankenstein, have fun with your friends.